State of the state, divided. Our politics guy will piece it back together into something that makes sense. State of the roof, still collapsed. And Breckenridge has good reason why it isn't attempting a cleanup. State of the winery, back in business 4 months after a semi barreled through the front door. The state of recycling in Denver. Sorry, a real sorry state indeed. Let's look at why. State of your Christmas lights, probably still up like mine. Be grateful you're not the Botanic Gardens. They've got 1 million to take down. We'll unite those states and others on Next. It's snowing in Denver. Attention people in windowless rooms. I repeat, it is snowing in Denver. I always love how we tell you that on the TV news, as if you do not have the ability yourself to just look outside the window and see that it is snowing ever so lightly in our city. We're expecting 1 to 2 inches in the metro area tonight, 3 to 6 in the foothills, and we'll drop more details here in a moment. So Breckenridge isn't even going to attempt to clean up the roof that collapsed under a load of snow last night. Not yet. 5 feet of snow was on top of the Breckenridge Convention Center roof before the roof ended up on top of the floor. No one was in the building at the time. So with no injuries, only the damage to the building and the inconvenience of gas shutoffs, meaning cold water for some nearby hotel rooms. With that being the worst of it, the collapsed roof in Breck has become a sort of tourist attraction.
Well, it's a good thing nobody was inside, obviously. I mean, it's worse than I thought, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's bad. The roof completely pancaked in is the best way I can describe it. So it just completely came down, separated from the walls.
The cleanup's on hold because there's so much snow that's mixed in with the debris. So the city plans to just fence off the site and let it sit there till summertime, and they'll deal with it once the snow melts. Governor Hickenlooper's State of the State address this morning has been pretty thoroughly covered online and in newscasts throughout the day. So for Next, we asked politics guy Brandon Ritteman to drill down on one thing that the governor said that sounded too good to be true.
At one point in his speech, Governor Hickenlooper built a case for more energy from wind and solar. And as part of that case, he pumped it as a source of jobs.
Costs of these technologies are dropping like a rock, while the clean energy industry provides jobs to over 60,000 Coloradans.
60,000 jobs in wind and solar? Holy schmoly, what a number. That's more than the jobs at Colorado breweries, or the total number of doctors in our state. More than workers in our pot industry. It's even more than the number of federal government jobs in Colorado. But there's a problem. It's an overstatement. The 60,000 figure comes from a Clean Energy Group's study, and that report calls all of the jobs clean energy jobs, but in truth, the vast majority are not in energy. 40,000 of these jobs are in what they call energy efficiency. That includes people working in heating and cooling, appliances, lighting, and building materials, all of which can help out with energy consumption, but are not clean energy production jobs. According to this study, that number is 14,000, which looks a little less impressive. For Next, I'm Brandon Ritteman.
All right, let's play a fun game called Pin the Tail on the Democrats. Guess who here is in the governor's party? That would be the happy clapping people. The Republicans are the ones sitting there looking like somebody stole their lunch. Left to right, Secretary of State Wayne Williams, AG is Cynthia Kaufman, and Treasurer Walker Stapleton. We always see these partisan divides at big speeches. It is just so rarely and perfectly captured in one photo like that. So Denver talks a big green game. Love the earth, man. And then Denver just tosses plastic bottles in the trash all the time. Our Ryan Harrer looks at just how little we recycle compared to other cities.
People in Denver don't recycle very often. Me included. I'll show you my excuse in just a second. Only about 18% of Denver's waste gets recycled. 18%. That's about half the national average. My excuse? This apartment complex doesn't offer recycling. A lot of apartment complexes in Denver don't. So a lot of recyclable material all ends up going down the same exact trash chute.
You know, Denver has a little bit of work to do when it comes to recycling.
Even the woman who runs Denver Recycles admits it. We have got to put more of our waste in a secondary bin.
Really, it's never been a crisis in the state of Colorado. In many other states across the country, we've seen crises with where to dispose of your waste.
Charlotte Pitt says it is a crisis for some cities because land for landfills and driving trucks to get there have made burying waste so expensive that recycling actually makes more sense. But in Denver, the landfill option still works, so the city doesn't require recycling in commercial or apartment buildings. And we all know how fast those are being built, oftentimes with the bottom line in mind.
For people in buildings that really don't want to set up services for their tenants, then certainly we encourage people to use our drop-off center.
The city's Cherry Creek Recycling Center is actually a pretty busy place, but it's not enough to get the recycling rate up to that of Boulder. No surprise, a 54% recycling rate. Boulder requires homeowners, property managers, and businesses to provide recycling services. Charlotte's looking at ways to reduce how much goes into the landfill.
We may not have had a crisis, but if we don't do this, we could have a disposal crisis at some point.
For Next, I'm Ryan Harold.
Charlotte tells Ryan that the city of Denver's new focus is on composting, seeing how 50% of everything that Denver throws away in the trash currently is compostable organic material. Denver does currently charge people to participate in the compost program. But now, as for getting more commercial and residential buildings to require recycling, any citywide mandate, that would have to come from City Council.
TV news has a bad rap for a lot of things. One of them, we tend to roll into town when there's a tragedy and then roll out once interest fades. For example, the semi that went off the road last September and slammed into a winery in Bailey. We showed you the wreckage then. We figure we owe it to you to show you the recovery.
Well, there's the old foundation.
If this was your livelihood,
The truck came out down the hill over there.
you might wince at a sight like this. But Marcel Flukiger
Is it hard to look at all of this?
doesn't dwell on the past.
Not too much anymore. I think it was in the beginning, but we couldn't wait to have it cleaned up and start looking to see what we can do going forward.
Moving forward for Marcel means a move further up Highway 285
It has been quite a ride.
to Pine Junction.
I cannot stress enough about what this community has done for us to get us back up and running.
This is the new temporary home of Aspen Peak Cellars, something that wouldn't be possible without help. Volunteers have been there since the beginning.
Helped us take some bottles out of the rubble. We called them the wine miners. But this is kind of what some of the stuff looked like.
They were able to salvage about 3,000 of the 20,000 bottles that were on the shelf of the winery the day of the crash. And the community came together and raised $25,000 for Marcel to get his operation back up and running while he waits for insurance money.
I couldn't imagine living anywhere else where we would get that kind of a support with a community like this behind people that are in need of something.
This is all new equipment, mostly.
This one is our tank that was a survivor. It's got a few dents in. We call it the crooked tank.
So maybe it's appropriate that the comeback release from Aspen Peak is Crooked Tank Old Vine Zinfandel.
15.8 alcohol, so it's pretty heavy.
A wine that's just like its business, strong enough to survive a crash.
Now, Marcel is hoping to reopen this summer. Plans are in the works for the new building. It'll be in the same area, just not facing the road. And you want to talk about a relic?
Yeah.
How about this? Talk about aging a wine. This is one of the bottles that they pulled out of the wreckage, and you can still
it's
see
all torn up, yeah.
all the torn up label. This wine is that reserve wine that they had. They found it in the tank still in the wreckage. They found 60 gallons of it. They were able to bottle it and bring it all together.
I tell you, they might be onto something. Everybody loves a bottle of wine or a beer with a story to it.
This is it.
That's the story right there. Steve, thank you. So we are 4 days away from the Parkopolis at the Cherry Creek Mall. You'll have to pay to park starting Tuesday, the 17th. I'm sure it'll be fine, but calling it the Parkopolis is just more newsy sounding. Here are the facts. You've heard them before, but we'll remind you again because we don't want anybody to be surprised. Free parking for the first hour, $3 for the second hour, extra $1 for the third hour, $2 every hour after that. Why are you at the mall that long? Can we? No. It'll be free during community events like the Arts Festival and Cherry Creek Snake. The mayor of Breckenridge responds to crises big and small. The big crisis was the roof collapse. The small one was ours. If you're waiting to take down your Christmas lights because there's like 1 million of them, these guys actually have 1 million, so don't let them beat you. The weather's changing on us. I know you can smell it. An olfactory forecast. Next. Vance Joseph, the new head coach of the Denver Broncos, made his official first stop today in front of the Denver media. First question went to Broncos guy Mike Kliss, who told us this afternoon he sees something that Joseph has in common with another highly successful NFL coach.
The coach Vance Joseph is most compared to, for many reasons, is Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin was a defensive backs coach, and then he became a defensive coordinator for 1 year with the Minnesota Vikings. After that 1 year, he became the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's had a real good run with the Steelers. In fact, he's still in the playoffs. Vance Joseph, also a defensive back coach for many years. 1 year as a defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, and now head coach of the Denver Broncos. Let's see what kind of run he has there.
I want to give a shout out to the mayor of Breckenridge. It has been a busy 24 hours for this man. That is the mayor helping our man in the mountains, Matt Renew, with his 10 p.m. live shot last night. Apparently, Matt's tripod froze in the weather, so Mayor Eric Mamela jumped in to help. That right there, that's a mayor.
You're almost to the weekend, and a little light snow in Denver just at the heart of the evening rush. I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. This system will be winding down quickly tonight, and we have a stronger storm we're tracking for the weekend. Winter weather advisory out for Denver through 9 o'clock. A couple inches of accumulation here, up to 4 and 5 inches across the western suburbs and up into Larimer County in areas like Fort Collins tonight, where it's been coming down for a little while. Winter weather travel advisories for tough travel in the high country. Another foot of snow expected between now and Saturday morning. Pictures coming in from Breckenridge show how difficult it is to get around up there. As a reminder, avalanche danger remains very high, so best to be mindful of the signs that are posted and the information that all of your favorite resorts will be giving you in terms of what the bounds are of where you can go to get into that chest-deep powder. Around here, we'll have a cloudy and colder night tonight, a cool day tomorrow, a nice day Saturday, and then things change for us Sunday into Monday. Best chance for heavier snow will be up around Georgetown and Idaho Springs. In Denver, a couple inches of snow and then clearing, 15 degrees. That winter weather advisory out just till 9 o'clock. Tomorrow, a mix of clouds and sunshine, a cooler day, upper 30s. A nice Saturday gets you into your weekend with great travel weather. And then Sunday into Monday, colder weather with the potential for accumulating snow here that may affect your drive on Monday. Driving, very tough today in Crested Butte. As a matter of fact, finding your front door or even your garage, just about impossible.
Kathy, thanks. The most Colorado thing we saw today comes to us courtesy of next viewer, Claire Looney. A cat in a backpack. No, that would be two cats in two backpacks. Those are Claire's cats, Philip and Phoebe. This is different, all right? So they live in Denver. They have a cabin in Grant up near Bailey. And the Looney family can only snowshoe in and out of the cabin during the winter, but they want their cats to be able to come along for extended stays. They don't want to leave them at home. And hence the special backpack carriers. They're ventilated. They're fine. Don't worry about it. Apparently, the cats are quite content with the whole setup.
There's like a window, like a bubble window that you can see his face in. It pops out. So they sit there, and it's flat on the bottom, so they have somewhere to sit. So they just sit there and look out, look around, look up, look down. It's so funny.
Yeah, apparently, it keeps them warm, too, on the half-mile trek in. This is, by far, the most Colorado thing we saw today. If you're procrastinating on taking down your holiday lights, abiding by the stock show rule, that's fine. And certainly the people of the Denver Botanic Gardens can sympathize. Their light display started coming down this week. All 1 million lights of it. Takes about 3 months to put it up and an entire month to take it back down. The Botanic Gardens, of course, prides itself on being green and eco-friendly, so they try not to throw away any lights. So they will unwind and save all of them, all 1 million of them, for next year.
A colleague said that they were on a plane leaving Denver and they could see it from the air. There's that many lights. It is a very planned out process, and the staff who does that know all the tricks.
And they do not climb trees to get those down. They use big poles just like that to take the lights off the top of the trees. And unlike your husband, they don't just throw them in a pile in a box in the garage. They carefully coil them up for next year.
Buying an Alexa seemed like a fun idea until people on TV started saying, buy an Alexa, and then all of a sudden your Alexa tries to buy another Alexa.
and looking back into the 9 News archives to see how the legendary Carl Akers used to respond to angry viewers. This is pure gold, I promise you. Next. We appreciate that so many of you listen so carefully to what we say here. You know who else is listening? Your smart home device, like your Google Home, your Amazon Echo. That's right, Alexa is listening to every word we say. Take the situation of a next viewer in Salida. Pat Neely tells us that his family got him an Amazon Echo for Christmas. He was watching 9 News at 4 this week when we talked about Amazon Echo and then the happy voice helper Alexa. And Pat says that's when his Alexa tried to order him a new one. He canceled the order when it asked him if he was sure. And poor Pat, we couldn't even get through a phone conversation with him without her butting in again.
You had mentioned something about I had to do was say, Alexa, I just turned it back on. I just said Alexa and it turned on. Can you turn it off? Go ahead. Oh, no, it happened again.
Welcome to the future, Pat. So now, there have been all these breathless news reports from around the country that news reports and TV shows are causing Amazon Echoes to order items off the internet. Amazon says that should not be happening because there's a built-in check to see if you really want to complete your order. May I make a recommendation? May I point you towards something that did not come from Next or from 9 News, but is worth your time? It's an article that I read on Slate recently on how the rise of self-driving cars could cause an organ shortage in America. It makes sense. Follow this. So self-driving and driverless cars are expected to greatly reduce traffic fatalities. And traffic deaths provide 1 in 5 donated organs in America. This article is worth a read. It gets into all the possible complications that this could cause. You can find a link to the Slate article on the Next Facebook page. Our next question is about yaks. It's the most basic question about yaks, really. After seeing the sign yesterday about the 2 lost yaks near Rocky Mountain National Park, Frenchie in Loveland wrote us, I'm concerned about the yaks, but what is a yak? This, Frenchie, is a yak. That's on us. I honestly thought that people knew what yaks were, so that's us. That is completely us. We're about to violate everything that I have always believed by showing snow-covered patio furniture on the news. And we have a 37-year-old piece of viewer feedback for you next. It's no secret how I feel about photos of snow-covered patio furniture. The state's too beautiful to rely on that kind of laziness. But a few people really brought the heat when it got cold this week. That is Marcus Hughes down in Pagosa Springs. He sent us that first photo looking out the window saying, well, the patio furniture is in there somewhere. Then later on in the week, he went outside, he did a little digging, and Marcus settled in for perhaps the best patio snow photo we have seen this season. It appears as if we are getting a bit of feedback. We discovered a new reason to love Carl Akers this week. If you're new to Colorado, Carl Akers was 9 News. Helped this station get to #1 in the 1970s. He offered commentaries here on the air for about a decade. He was also a fan of Sweet Jackets. And now I've come to learn he also enjoyed mixing it up with angry viewers. In 1980, a viewer named Robert Naiman wrote in disagreeing with one of Akers' commentaries. The reply was headlined "From the Desk of Carl Akers." Dear Mr. Naiman, Channel 4 has an excellent newscast and no boring, irritating commentators. You, I assume, have intelligence enough to turn the dial. Merry Christmas, Carl Akers. No Twitter or email back in 1980, but it didn't stop Carl Akers from dropping a savage reply on an angry viewer. And it was Robert Naiman himself who sent me that note. He had emailed in calling Next crap. So I offered to chat about how we could improve the show. He sent me the letter that Carl Akers sent and said, quote, despite a penchant for dressing like him, you're a much better sport. I don't know about that, Mr. Naiman. I imagine that when Carl Akers wrote that note 37 years ago, he had a big smile on his face. We're out of time. I have notes to write. I'll see you next time.